Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson.
In Michael Jackson, there was a side to the king of pop that we need to talk about.
Were you ever accused of having sexually molested Brett Barnes?
It has caused a great deal of speculation.
Why can't you share your bed? The most loving thing to do is to share your bed with someone.
Sexually engage, fondle, have sexual contact with this child or any other child.
But if anybody else ever found out about any of this, you and I would go to jail for the rest of our lives.
He is without question a fucking lunatic.
Whilst his lifestyle may have been a bit unorthodox.
Wacko Jacko, where'd that come from? Some English tabloid. I have a heart and I have feelings. I feel that.
I've seen him do so much good in the world, and they've turned it against him.
If Neverland was so horrifying for him, and why would you keep going back?
I am totally innocent of any wrongdoing, and I know these terrible allegations will all be proven false. Again, to my friends and fans, thank you very much for all of your support. Together, we will see this to the very end.
Hi everyone! After a 5-year hiatus, I am finally back with part 2 of this Michael Jackson series. I was doing a short docu-series on Michael back in 2019 and never made part 2 after 5 years, so here I am. I feel like all that's going on this year related to Michael and the biopic coming out and apparently a Leaving Neverland sequel that could be coming out, it was important to go ahead and finish up at least part 2 of this series before I get to part 3. I will say that when this sequel was announced, it was also announced that the MJ estate won the right to arbitration, aka a dispute resolution process where the parties select a neutral third party to resolve their claims against HBO Max. Here's a document from the estate regarding this against HBO. So that alone will probably result in less value going into this production of the sequel for Leaving Neverland. So just for a little recap, if you forgot about my series that I did in 2019, I did release a trailer and I did release a part 1. This series focused on the allegations that Michael faced in 1993, in 2005, and the allegations of Wade Robson and James Safechuck. This series will focus on Michael's point of view with these allegations, as well as the fans' point of view, and as well as those who have claimed that they are victims of Michael as well. I will put a playlist in the description of the series if you want to check out the trailer and part 1. In part 1, I mainly focused on Michael as well as how fans felt about Michael and how Michael's music had helped them, etc. I even shared some of my thoughts at the end of the video, so feel free to check that out. In this part, we will be discussing a lot more about those who have come forward and have claimed that Michael did inappropriate things to them as children. Before I begin getting into what others have said about Michael and what they have claimed was done to them as children, I wanted to give a disclaimer on 2 things. 1, I have researched what has come out myself. I take things like this very seriously. I would always want to make sure that I really researched something this serious and understood every aspect of these allegations. I did want to say this. I know I'm a smaller YouTube channel, but I just want to say that this is not meant to slander anyone's name. I do not want to get in any legal issues. I will be providing factual evidence in this video, such as court documents, audio recordings, video recordings, interviews, things of that nature, witness testimony. Number 2, yes, I am a Michael Jackson fan, as you can tell by my wall. I am aware of that. I could see how people would think this video would be biased, but I went into this video especially trying to view these allegations in a non-biased way. Because of how serious child essay is, it is extremely important for me to educate myself on the entirety of this trial and any other allegations that have been made. I do not want anyone to think that I would ever shame victims of abuse for coming forward with their stories, and especially those who have suffered abuse as a child. It takes a lot to share any kind of abuse that you've gone through, and it also takes a lot to come out against a public figure. With that also being said, I did want to say that I have a lot of issue with people who come forward and claim false things that have happened to them, especially involving child SA. It makes it extremely hard for true victims of abuse to come forward, and I just think that is also very disgusting to lie about something this serious. So yes, I hope that I relay all this information in a respectful and informative way. I think that is all I have to say for the disclaimers. So let's go ahead and get into it. So of course, we're going to start with the 1993 allegations involving Michael Jackson and Jordan Chandler and his family. If you have been watching me, I'm sure you know about pretty much everything I'm going to talk about. But this video is especially for people who may just be finding my channel or are just genuinely curious about Michael's allegations. So in 1993, Jordan Chandler and his father, Evan Chandler, accused Michael of child SA. Frank Cascio, he was also a child when he knew Michael. In his book, My Friend Michael, he talks about his friend Jordy, which is Jordan Chandler's nickname, and how he always thought that Jordan was such a nice kid. According to Frank, though, Jordan had confided in him that his father, Evan, was extremely jealous of Michael being so close to him and the rest of his family. He also told Frank that his father had a terrible temper as well. Frank Cascio also shares in the book that him and his family were like a second family to Michael. Over time, Evan feels that because of the closeness between Michael and his son, there could be something inappropriate going on between the two. Jordan tells his father that nothing inappropriate occurred. The suspicion Evan had eventually arose when Michael refused to add on to his home and make Evan a partner in a film production that Michael had founded. Evan then went to a lawyer by the name of Barry K. Rothman. Rothman tells Evan to file a restraining order or to start a custody lawsuit against his wife, June. This deterioration of his relationships with his son, family, and Michael was allegedly due to the result of explosive behavior Evan exhibited during this time. This eventually led to Evan leaving a message on June's answering machine where he asked for her, Jordan, and Michael to stop avoiding him. Jordan's stepfather, David Schwartz, who met Michael in 1992, decided to record 3 telephone conversations with Evan Chandler because David had his suspicions about Evan's character. Here are snippets of those infamous calls.
Humiliated. Beyond worst nightmares. So one more minute. This attorney I found. I mean, I interviewed several, and I picked the nastiest son of a bitch I could find. Once I make that phone call, this guy's just going to destroy everybody in sight. Any devious, nasty, cruel way that he can do it. And I've given him full authority to do that. It'll be a massacre if I don't get what I want. If I go through with this, I win big time. I will get everything I want, and they will be destroyed forever. They will be destroyed. June is going to lose Jordy. She will have no right to ever see him again. Yeah. That's fact, Dave. That's what's going to happen. Does that help? Your career will be over. Does that help Jordy? Michael's career will be over. And does that help Jordy? It's irrelevant to me.
These calls showcase that Evan Chandler definitely had a plan set in place for what was to come against Michael Jackson. He held a lot of resentment towards Michael and felt that Michael had broken up the family. Interestingly enough, June Chandler, according to her testimony in 2005, claims that her husband Evan neglected Jordan before Michael became a part of their lives. After taping Evan's calls, David then hands the tapes over to Michael's private investigator, Anthony Pellicano, the next day. Pellicano then meets with Jordan without Michael being present and questions Jordan about any inappropriate touching or other sexual behavior. Jordan denied any inappropriate acts done to him. The allegations came to light when Evan refused to return Jordan to his mother, June, and following that, Evan decided to see if Jordan would confess to inappropriate behavior while coming out of being sedated during a dental appointment. Jordan refused, but Evan was adamant on getting Jordan to say that Michael had done something to him. Evan says to Jordan, quote, Jordan allegedly, in an effort to protect Michael, confessed. Another interesting quote from Frank Cassie's book says, quote, I had spent plenty of time with Jordy and Michael, and when I was in Neverland, Jordy never stayed in Michael's room with us. Evan and his lawyer, Barry Rothman, meet Michael's private investigator, Pellicano, and demand $20 million if they don't reach out to authorities or go public with the allegations against Michael. Michael then refuses, and on top of that, the deadline set for Evan to return Jordan to his mother is almost reached. Frustrated, Evan decides to bring Jordan to a doctor where he can provide the events in detail against Michael Jackson. This leads to a criminal investigation, and Evan ends up not having to be returned back to his mother June as well due to the surfaced allegations. Search warrants were then executed while Michael was on tour in an attempt to find any evidence. Ultimately, videotapes were collected from the home, but there was no evidence of SA on those tapes. After the search, it was concluded that there was nothing to support a criminal case. Gloria Allred, the attorney of the Chandlers, says in a press conference that Jordan will in fact testify in court. After that statement, though, she is fired by the Chandler family and then replaced by Larry Feldman, who is a civil attorney. The brother of Evan Chandler, Ray, claims in his book that, quote, they wanted to steer the case toward a highly profitable settlement rather than a grand jury indictment and a criminal trial. After this, a $30 million lawsuit is filed against Michael, as well as accusations of sexual battery, seduction, willful misconduct, intentional infliction of emotional distress, fraud, and negligence. Michael then cancels more dates of the Dangerous tour he is on due to his health and ultimately cancel the rest of the stops that remain. Then 40 to 60 children who were associated with Michael and stayed at Neverland with him were interviewed by police, but none of them claimed that they had ever been involved in any inappropriate situations with Michael. Here are some clips of child actors Corey Feldman and Macaulay Culkin speaking out about their experiences with Michael Jackson.
I would imagine you believe that children are being abused by pedophiles in Hollywood.
Absolutely.
So why are you sitting down talking to me? Why aren't you sitting down with the police right now?
I've told the police. In fact, if anybody wants to go back to 1993 when I was interviewed by the Santa Barbara Police Department, I sat there and I gave them the names. They're on record. They have all of this information, but they were scanning Michael Jackson. All they cared about was trying to find something on Michael Jackson.
Who you said, by the way, did not abuse you.
Who Michael was innocent, and that was what the interview was about with the police in 1993. I told them he is not that guy, and they said, well, maybe you just don't understand your friend. And I said, no, I know the difference between pedophiles and somebody who's not a pedophile because I've been molested. Here's the names. Go investigate.
Well, the thing is with that whole thing is that, they go, oh, you slept in the same bedroom as him. It's like, I don't think you understand. Michael Jackson's bedroom is 2 stories. And it has like 3 bathrooms and this and that. So when I slept in his bedroom, yeah, but you have to understand the whole scenario. And the thing is with Michael is that he's not very good at explaining himself. And he never really has been, because he's not a very social person. I mean, you're talking about someone who's been sheltered and sheltering himself also for the last like 30 years, or and so he's not very good at communicating to people and not very good at conveying what he's actually trying to say to you. And so when he says something like that, people, he doesn't quite understand why people react the way that they do.
Fast forward to December. Michael goes through a grueling strip search by police. His naked body is videotaped and photographed by police to compare his penis and markings on his skin to the description given by the accuser. Following the search, there was no arrest due to the description of Michael's penis by the accuser not matching, as well as the markings on Michael's skin not matching. Even on Michael's autopsy in 2009, the autopsy report showed that he was in fact not circumcised, which is not accurate to the description that was given by the accuser. Now, this is also going to reveal some of the relationship issues with Michael and the Chandler family when we talk about why the case was pushed to be settled by the Chandlers and why Michael as well also complied with settling the case completely. This was a civil settlement. Civil settlements are allowed, but criminal settlements are not allowed here in the US. Also, it's important to know that nothing in the settlement that Michael agreed to prevented the Chandler family from testifying against Michael in a criminal court. The Chandlers did not cooperate with the authorities and those who investigated criminal proceedings. They also did not end up testifying. They simply accepted the money that Michael gave them in the settlement. For the criminal case, it was held before 2 grand juries, one that was in LA and one that was in Santa Barbara. After 7 months of home searches, interviews with children and other witnesses, and of course the strip searching of Michael's body, the grand juries concluded there was not sufficient evidence for indictment. After this decision is ruled, Jordan goes on to actually emancipate his parents and completely cuts contact with them. When he's asked to testify in the 2004 trial against Michael, he also refuses. So now that we know about the Jordan Chandler case in 1993, we can advance to the details of the 2005 case. In 2003, an arrest warrant was issued for Michael due to a boy named Gavin Arvizo's allegations of SA that allegedly occurred at the hands of Michael. Gavin said that Jackson was inappropriate with him from February of 2003 to March of 2003. Back in 2000, Gavin was suffering from a rare type of cancer. Gavin reached out to a comedian by the name of Jamie Masada, who was the founder of the Laugh Factory comedy camp. This connection made it possible for Gavin to actually meet Michael. After his first round of chemo treatment on the first visit, Gavin asked to sleep in Michael's bedroom with his brother's star, which is eventually displayed in the 2003 Martin Bashir documentary called Living with Michael Jackson, which we all know if you watch this channel. One of the aspects shown in the documentary is Michael's sleeping situation when children would spend the night at Neverland Ranch. When children were present in Michael's bedroom, Michael made it known that he would sleep on the floor while the visiting children slept on the bed. As well as sleeping on the floor, Michael wanted his personal assistant, Frank Cassio, to sleep in the bedroom on the floor with him as well.
To share a bedroom with a child who is not related to him at all, that's a beautiful thing. That's not a worrying thing. Why should it be worrying? Who's the criminal? Who's Jack the Ripper in the room? This is a guy trying to help heal a child. I'm sleeping in a sleeping bag on the floor. I gave him the bed because he has a brother named Star. So him and Star took the bed, and I'm on the floor in the sleeping bag.
One thing to note in the timeline of events is that after the first visit with Gavin in 2000, Michael and Gavin did not keep in touch consistently until the Living with Michael Jackson documentary was recorded in 2002. Even on the stand at trial, Gavin claimed that Michael avoided contacting him from August to September of 2000. Back to the documentary, Living with Michael Jackson, Martin Bashir suggested that Michael should show the public how he helped children with serious illnesses for the documentary. Gavin was ultimately invited back to Neverland for the documentary filming. Michael and his team then planned to release a rebuttal video after Bashir's documentary. This video was released and titled The Michael Jackson Interview, The Footage You Were Never Meant to See. It provided longer links of the footage rather than the highly edited content that was put together in Bashir's documentary. The Arvizo family claimed the essay of Gavin began in early February of 2003. However, the Arvizos were actually filmed for an interview in the documentary on February 20th, 2003. The family claimed that this interview of them complimenting Michael so highly only exists because they claimed that they were threatened to cooperate by Michael. There even was a claim that they were kidnapped in order for the crew to get the interview footage that they did, which ultimately led to the police bringing charges against Michael and a trial began. Gavin's mom even goes on in the interview to talk about the normalcy of holding hands with a child and how it is not inappropriate or sexual to do so. I'm going to get more into this in part 3 because I'm going to share a lot of my opinions there, but I think if you were, being held hostage, I would not go as far to say that. You know what I mean? I would probably just try to be nice, leave that out. If that was happening to my child and I was aware, I would never say this. You know what I mean?
And he gave my little brother so much. Wait, you know how Bashir zoomed in on him holding hands? Do that the same thing.
Because
because that's what a mother does with a son, or a father does with a son, and they try to make it out to be something wrong.
The Arvizo family even sued Martin Bashir for dragging their name into his documentary, and they were not in favor of the way that Bashir betrayed Mike and their child Gavin at that time. So there definitely are some contradictions going on with this family pretty consistently, and there's actually going to be more as I get on with this video about the Arvizos. After being reminded of this video interview and the filming date, the Arvizos decided to alter the date of the claimed essay done by Michael to Gavin. They now labeled that timeline from February 20th to March 12th of 2003 instead. And I want to add that yes, there are plenty of situations where victims of abuse do not remember the exact date that something happened to them, or maybe the exact timeline in certain situations. That is absolutely possible. Some victims literally dissociate to try to protect themselves from the traumatic situations that they are going through. So I do acknowledge that they do get dates wrong, they do get locations wrong sometimes, and sometimes victims will lie for years in order to protect themselves or their family, or the victim just may be ashamed and never want to come forward. There are so many reasons why victims may lie or may not perfectly remember the information of what happened to them. However, I will say, especially with the Arvizo, I have found several contradictions that involve not only Gavin and Michael, but really the Arvizo family as a whole. I've even seen allegations that were made by Michael's staff, which I will be talking about later in this video, that totally changed. I mean, they were in support of him, and then all of a sudden they're no longer in support of Michael and have seen terrible things that Michael has done. Eventually, due to the chaos of the Bashir documentary and allegations of the Arvizo family, more investigations were launched against Michael. When Gavin was on the stand at the trial, he claimed that Michael seemed to be ignoring him and his family right after the 2000 visit. And for them to not reconnect until the Living with Michael Jackson documentary, that would be about 3 years. So for Michael to be essaying him after not being around him for 3 years, and then on top of that, cameras are constantly around filming for this documentary, your every move is basically being analyzed. I mean, it's called Living with Michael Jackson. And the fact that Michael released a lot of the footage that was not included in that. So that would be obviously a very risky thing to do if you were doing this to a child. Aside from Michael's distrust in the Arvizo family, there were others who had experience with this family, using them for money or to satisfy any desires that they had. Other celebrities like Chris Tucker and George Lopez, to name a few. At one point during the trial, Michael's lawyer actually showed an entire list of scams done by the Arvizo family, and how the family loved to connect with celebrities and tell them about their child Gavin with cancer who needs help. If you're extorting your sick child, I truly have no words. I will definitely get into that in part 3. Even Gavin's mother was accused of a false sexual harassment case in a JCPenney parking lot where she claimed that security guards attacked her. As a child, Gavin actually gave a sworn deposition of the attack of his mother faced, but Michael's lawyer claimed to have proven it completely false. Chris Tucker, who was also associated with the Arvizos at one time, also testified that the Arvizo family wanted his car and some money. This resulted in him flying to Miami to tell Michael that he should be very wary of associating with this family in the future. The Arvizos shared their timeline of events with others many times, but unfortunately the interviews of that are not accessible to the public. However, one of the details that is known to the public is that the timeline seemed to never be consistent and changed significantly throughout the case over time. Not only was the timeline changed, but the content of the allegations was as well. This included the number of times that Gavin was claimed to be essayed. Between 2003 to 2005, the instances went from at least 5 to less than 5 and then to 7 occasions. By the time the trial began, the number of incidents had then become 2. Some other interesting contradictions I want to mention include when Gavin and his brother Star contradicted each other's details on what Michael had allegedly done to them. One contradiction is differing accounts of seeing Michael naked and Gavin being unaware that there were patches on Michael's body. Another contradiction is inconsistent details about what exactly was shown to them by Michael through inappropriate magazines and adult websites. Another contradiction is the details of what Star had seen Michael do to his brother. And relating to the inappropriate magazine details that they gave, Gavin claimed on the stand that he was given new Playboy magazines by Michael that were August issues. This raised red flags immediately because Gavin claimed that he was at Neverland Ranch in May. His mother even tried to add to her son's incorrect timeline and claimed that Gavin meant to say that Michael kidnapped them in May, but she was cut off when asked for the specific date in May, and she answered May 16th. It turns out that her credit card information was looked at, and it was determined that on that day she was shopping and not in any proximity whatsoever to Michael's home. These are just a few of the contradictions that I have found from the Arvizo family. There are also even contradictions from the security guard and the maid who testified in the trial, claimed Michael was innocent and not harmful to children whatsoever, but now they claim that they were suspicious about his relationship with children. Michael's lawyer then asked them why their stories have changed so drastically, and ultimately tells him his answer for them is it because Michael fired you because he caught you stealing from him, and once you were caught, you sold your story to TMZ for millions of dollars? Some other staff members of Michael end up coming out as well against him, but it is discovered that many of them have deals with the media for large sums of money. This is revealed when the rest of the staff, who are in support of Michael, claim that the staff who financially benefited from their accusations of Michael are lying about their claims. They decided to even bring out Debbie Rowe in the trial as well, and fully expect her to bash Michael on the stand. However, that does not end up happening at all. Debbie says she only cooperated with the family just to get on the stand and state that she never saw any inappropriate behavior going on. Of course, we all know that when the chaos of the trial comes to an end, Michael's verdict is found not guilty on June 13th, and that day is known as Victory Day. Got through the 1993 allegations, the 2005 trial. I'm gonna just keep my mouth shut. We're gonna save my opinions and thoughts for part 3, okay? But, okay, that was a lot. I am actually going to be leaving a lot of really amazing YouTube videos that have also discussed the 1993 allegations as well as the 2005 trial in my description. I mean, you can basically find anything about these allegations, and that's what kills me when people decide to not do their research about it, because all of this is very easy to find. It is public information. So now we're going to advance to the 2 men who came out in the Leaving Neverland documentary that was released in 2019. First, let's start with Wade Robson and how he came to know Michael Jackson as a child. Wade Robson met Michael when he was 5 years old after winning a dance contest held in Australia. And the prize for winning this dance contest was actually to meet Michael Jackson, and he won and got to meet him. He referred to Michael as his mentor and later even became a choreographer and stage director aside from dancing. Wade at one time admired Michael so much that he actually wrote in an entry of the official Michael Jackson Opus book published in 2009 after Michael's death, and he said, quote, "Michael Jackson changed the world, and more personally, my life forever. He is the reason I dance, the reason I make music, and one of the main reasons I believe in the pure goodness of humankind." Wade, even after Michael's death, participated in the Scream tribute for MTV with Janet Jackson, and here is a clip of him talking about that experience.
To be with us spiritually, and I wanted to feel something physical from him. So I'm probably gonna rock one of these tonight too when we perform on stage and just feel that much closer to him.
When Wade was 10, the 1983 allegations were out. So in response, Wade and his family can be seen on video talking about how wonderful and pure Michael was. They explained their trust of Michael and how they believed that Michael would never harm anyone, especially a child.
Yeah, you know, there's been different times where it'll just be me and Michael. Then there'll be other times where he has other friends over too. This is what, like what Brett said, it's just a slumber party. We just have a lot of fun.
You know, it's just a friendship. And I know he would never do anything to hurt my brother. He's the nicest guy you've ever met.
I've been there when these kids have been in Michael's room. I've been there with them. It's just party time. They watch videos, they eat junk food, they play video games. They play so hard. They fall asleep. They're exhausted. They fall asleep.
Yeah,
There's nothing more to it than that.
Does it seem unusual for a 34-year-old man to have kids sleeping over?
Not when you know Michael's background. Under normal circumstances, possibly yes. But Michael, everybody knows he didn't have a childhood.
Advancing to 2005, Wade is now an adult and continues to defend Michael in the 2005 trial. He testified and denied any allegations of SA as a child. Wade defended Michael for many years after this, as you can see in this interview.
Talk every couple months, catch up.
You do, really? Well, what's he like?
What's he like? He's a good guy.
Is he a good guy?
Yeah.
Show me where he touched you. You never, nothing ever,
he touched you,
nothing ever like that? No nonsense, no shenanigans? But he's a weird guy, you have to admit, right?
You know what? At the end of the day, it's like everybody's got something weird about him.
Eventually, Wade's story changed drastically. In 2012, Wade comes out with allegations that Michael did in fact SA him as a child. Wade claimed that the reason he did not come out sooner with the allegations is because he did not understand that during that time span when he was allegedly being SA'd as a child, he did not believe that Michael was doing anything wrong or inappropriate towards him. Also, let's just note that that means that Wade lied under oath in 2005 if what he's saying now is true, which is crazy to me because, you know, he's hearing about all of these incidents in the 2005 trial and he somehow does not understand what the abuse was during that time. Wade also shared other different reasons as to why he did not come forward until 2012. In one claim, he states that Michael told him that both of them would go to jail if anyone found out, which Wade believed up until 2012. In another claim, he told his mother, Joy Robson, that he denied the abuse during the 2005 trial because he felt shameful about the alleged SA. In Wade's own deposition, where he was asked if he felt a sense of shame for what happened between him and Michael relating to their closeness, Wade stated, quote, "No, I didn't. I didn't have any. As I stated, I didn't have any perspective on it. I didn't know that at the time. I didn't know that at any time until post-May 2012. Wade even went as far to say that he realized he was being SA when he imagined his own son, born in 2010, going through the same thing. I'm not sure what to say about that, honestly. Aside from the SA allegations brought up by Wade, he also claimed that in 1993 and 2005, Michael would coach him on the phone using roleplay in an attempt to make Wade a master of deception or a great liar. Michael allegedly told Wade on the phone that, quote, "They are making up all these lies about you and me, saying stuff that we did, all this disgusting and sexual stuff. They are just trying to take us down, take away my power and my money, take away our careers. We can't let them do this. We have to fight them together." This quote is what Wade referred to as the role play that Michael allegedly used to make him a good liar. There is currently no physical evidence that Michael ever said this to Wade, so it is strictly Wade's side of the story as of now. 2 years before the allegations surfaced in 2010, Wade was actually offered a project that he gladly accepted. It was an offer to direct the dance movie Step Up Revolution. However, in 2011, Wade began to struggle with the pressure of the job role, which triggered a nervous breakdown. He ended up pulling out of the project and later went on to write about the experience in a blog post. Wade decided to start therapy after this experience. While in therapy, he never brought up any inappropriate behavior between himself and Michael. He also never came to any family members or friends about an inappropriate relationship with Michael at the time. 5 days after this therapy session, on May 21st, 2011, Wade wrote an email to the director of Cirque du Soleil show and told them how badly he wanted them to let him direct and or choreograph the Michael Jackson themed Las Vegas show called One. Wade needed to be validated by the MJ estate to do so. This resulted in him meeting with co-executor of the MJ estate. Wade claimed in his deposition that he was eventually hired. However, John claims that Jamie King was picked instead of Wade because he was seen as a better fit for the role. John then goes on to say that Jamie King may have hired Wade at some point for a lower position, but that it would not be for a leading creative role in the show. Wade went on to do an interview 2 months later and claimed that he did have a leading role in the show.
I'm starting on Cirque du Soleil Michael Jackson show, which is exciting and terrifying all at the same time because it's such a huge responsibility. But that was why I took it on. Michael was such a huge part of my career and life.
A couple of months after this interview, Wade decided that he would come out with the allegations against Michael. In March of 2012, Wade suffered another nervous breakdown. He then decided to go to a new therapist in April. Wade then began telling his new therapist that Michael was doing inappropriate things to him as a child. Wade went on to share many things on his blog, and one of those things included a TED Talk that he had seen that discussed the power of vulnerability. It talks about the courage that it takes to be imperfect and references parents that raise their children to be perfect. And I could see how this would resonate with Wade because at 16 he was literally choreographing for Britney Spears. He definitely had a lot going on when he was younger, especially. It mainly focuses on the expectations that Wade was given by his parents, especially his mother Joy, as a child. Wade also reveals in January 2018 on his blog that the cause of his breakdowns came from the immense pressure and stress that he felt. It's important to note that Wade's therapist in 2012, Dr. Larry Shaw, is actually a therapist who specializes in helping those who are under a lot of stress and pressure, especially in high pressure jobs, and need support. I mentioned some of these blog posts and the therapist's specialization because none of this information was never put into Wade's lawsuit that he came to file in 2013. The career stress and expectations were just never mentioned in it whatsoever. Eventually, on May 1st, 2013, Wade files a creditor's claim/civil lawsuit against the MJ estate and companies for monetary compensation due to his claims of child SA done to him by Michael. Wade claims, quote, "Had it not been for the SA I suffered as a child, my emotional breakdowns as a result, and my subsequent ability to return to the life that Jackson prophesied would have, I believe my career would have continued the upward trajectory." Wade's mother, Joy Robson, actually testified in 2005 that he had financial problems and that she was concerned on how he would provide for his family with his career struggles. Wade even goes on to share on his blog and deposition that rather than his mother being a hardcore stage mom, Michael was actually the reason that he always had to work. and that Michael was responsible for his unhealthy work habits that he had from an early childhood. I think that this interview of his mother, Joy Robson, is very revealing, to be honest, to the way that she raised her children rather than the way that Michael allegedly raised her children.
My kids worked every weekend, every school vacation. Their birthday parties were backstage. Their Christmas parties were backstage. No regrets.
In fact, according to Joy Robson's own testimony, she says that Jackson, quote, used to call me and ask and beg me not to make Wade work all the time, to let him have his childhood. I mean, if anyone understands that, it's definitely Michael, because we know about his childhood. Aside from Wade's financial and career issues, he was also struggling in his marriage as well. In his own deposition, his wife Amanda struggled to handle his breakdowns and threatened to leave if he did not return back to work and get a control on his breakdowns. One of the responses to Wade's 2016 deposition by the Jackson estate was when they decided to reveal a note written by Wade. The note stated, quote, "My story of abuse and its effects will make me relatable/relevant." Another statement from Wade claimed that he no longer wanted to do entertainment-based work or activities due to the alleged SAA done by Michael. He did, however, share this kind of content that I'm about to show you during that time. Eventually, in September of 2017, Wade's lawsuit was going to be dismissed. Wade claimed at this point that he was healed from the struggle that he faced participating in entertainment activities. He then announced his return to dancing, choreography, and the entertainment scene as a whole. Wade's civil lawsuit included two of Michael Jackson's companies, MJJ Productions and MJJ Ventures. He explained the reasoning for this lawsuit, claiming that, quote, "The most sophisticated public child essay procurement and facilitation organizations the world has known, and that they knew of his abuse and allowed it to continue." Wade even states that the meet and greet that he got to have with Michael when he won that dance competition in Australia as a child, he says that these meet and greets were calculated towards children. By saying in his lawsuit, quote, "Meet and greets were purposely orchestrated by MJJ Productions and MJJ Ventures as a sexual grooming mechanism to acquire minor sexual abuse victims for Michael Jackson, disguised as charitable events for minors." However, the meet and greet was not organized by these companies whatsoever, and Wade actually knew that at the time. They were organized by Target, Pepsi, and CVS. The reason that Wade was aware of this is because during his 2005 trial testimony, he mentioned that all of them had actually organized the meet and greet that he was a part of. Also, after the meet and greet event, Joy actually sent a letter to Michael thanking him for meeting her child, and if it weren't for that note, Michael may have never reached out to them again, but Joy continued to reach out to him consistently. However, Michael never responded to them. It wasn't until 2 years later at the LA Gear photo shoot that Michael and Wade ended up reconnecting when the Robsons were granted the opportunity to join after reaching out to Michael. In Joy's deposition, she revealed that she had to be the one to reach out to Michael in order to get Wade in projects like the Jam music video. She says, quote, "Wade felt pushed aside a little bit due to Michael spending more time with other children." Joy even went on to say in her own testimony that she cut ties from Jackson for 6 whole months when he did not reach out to Wade during the Dangerous tour. Wade wanted to be on the Dangerous tour, but Michael declined. 2 witnesses of Wade's claims are actually people who once were very supportive of Michael, but when the 1993 allegations arose, they ended up changing their views and stories that they had of Michael. The first witness is the Quindoy family, which consists of husband Mark Quindoy and his wife. They worked with Michael from 1989 to 1990. They sold their new Change of Heart stories to tabloid media and claimed that they quit because of the disturbing things that Michael did to children, including Wade Robson. The other witness for Wade is Blanca Francia, a maid who worked for Michael from 1986 to 1991. She also spoke out against Michael after the 1993 allegations and claimed that she had saw Michael showering with Wade Robson when he was just a child. Blanca was paid $20,000 by the tabloid TV show called Hard Copy. However, in her own deposition in January of 1994, she admitted that she actually never saw or heard Wade and Michael in the shower together. She even went on to add that she never saw anyone in the shower with Michael, period, while she was working for him. Wade claimed that another reason he was so adamant on going through with the lawsuit was to help the alleged victims of Michael. However, in Wade's deposition, he says that he did not reach out to Gavin Arvizo. Although he did not reach out to Gavin, he did reach out to a few others, including Jonathan Spence and Brett Barnes, who knew Michael as children. However, Wade quickly realized that the two of them would agree that Michael never did anything to them as children. Brett Barnes even tweeted this at one time. Okay, that is a brief overview of Wade Robson. Now we're going to advance to Leaving Neverland and get into James Safechuck as well. The Leaving Neverland documentary was released in 2019 and it included Wade Robson, James Safechuck, and director Dan Reed. It discusses the alleged essay of Wade and James during their childhoods with Michael, as well as Michael's alleged scary and disturbing side. I did want to mention a key person that a lot of people bring up when discussing Leaving Neverland, and that person is Victor, I hope I say his last name right, I'm so bad at pronouncing things, Gutierrez. If I butchered that, please let me know. I'm just gonna say Victor G, okay? He wrote the book, released in 1996, that was titled Michael Jackson Was My Lover, The Secret Diary of Jordy Chandler, aka Jordan Chandler. And it's important to note that to Jordan Chandler's uncle, Ray Chandler, that Jordan never had a diary of his own. So why this book would even be titled that, I don't know. Victor claimed that Michael watched inappropriate material with children. However, none of that was found in Michael's possession. A lot of people considered this man, Victor, to be a P-word apologist due to the very concerning comments he has made involving minors. Like, for example, saying, quote, "What really struck me was that Wade and James Safechuck really were in love with Michael. People assume that it's what we call in the UK, the guy in the, quote, dirty Mac. It wasn't like that. These are relationships that, if they had happened between consenting adults, would be entirely normal." A lot of what Victor writes in the book, The Secret Diary of Jordy Chandler, has similar themes to claims that James and Wade made in the Leaving Neverland documentary. James claimed that Michael married him in his bedroom in 1988. And he even shows a ring that was allegedly given to him by Michael that would fit a child's finger. That is something, as you can see by the title of Victor's book alone, that was brought up. The information about Victor is pretty lengthy, so I am going to put a video in the description that's about 30 minutes long that gets more into some interesting things that were said in this book, which, by the way, just what is the title? Like, I just feel sick to my stomach. So on to James Safechuck. James met Michael in 1986 on the set of a Pepsi commercial after he was hired to appear in it. Afterwards, he joined Michael on the Bad Tour as well from 1988 to 1989. Safechuck later goes on to claim that Michael had shared a hotel room with him regularly during this time. But when the 1993 allegations came to light, James denied any inappropriate behavior between him and Michael. The following year in 1994, James was hired as the assistant of Michael on the teaser trailer for Michael's History album. It wasn't until 2014 that James also sued the same companies that Wade did, MJJ Productions and MJJ Ventures, claiming the same things Wade did that I had mentioned earlier when it came to the negligence of both companies. However, in 2017, the judge filed both James and Wade's legal actions. They both exceeded the 26-year-old age limit that was required by the law for them to claim that they had been essayed as children. A subsequent amendment to the law allows James and Wade to appeal. In 2019, James and Wade were reached out to by the British director Dan Reed, HBO, and the British Channel 4 to make the Leaving Neverland documentary. It was then profited off for several $1 million. One part of the documentary that I did want to share is the timeline of events that are recounted by James and Wade. Michael's biographer actually pulled out receipts showing that the permit for the train station that Michael had at Neverland was issued in 1993, and then it was built in 1994. James claimed that the abuse that he suffered at the train station occurred in 1992. A lot of times throughout this documentary, they will be in a certain place at a certain time, at a certain date, and Michael will not even be anywhere in that proximity because Michael's schedule is publicly available. This man was very famous. A lot of people knew where he was at almost all times. On October 21st, 2020, the LA Supreme Court Justice Mark Young dismissed the lawsuit. According to the statements, no sufficient evidence was present in any of the claims, and Michael's two companies were not held responsible as well. And now here we are with a Leaving Neverland sequel apparently in the works. I think that wraps up the timeline of events for these allegations. In the next and last part of my series, again, I will be voicing more of my opinions and thoughts. For this video, I really just wanted to give all of the information that I have. Obviously, with something this serious, I did want to know what was going on. And I wanted to see the facts, right? So that's what I did. Especially as a Michael fan who supports this man, right? I want to know if it's true or not. So it's very important for me to look into this, and obviously I have. And I hope I got everything. This is a lot. Again, there are videos on YouTube you can look up very easily that go in depth on each allegation and show so much information. And you can just Google it and find this information as well. But this is just a brief overview. And I hope that I did it justice. Feel free to discuss what I've shared and add to what I have said that I did not go over in the comments, because I'm absolutely positive there's stuff that I did not address that we could talk about for hours in the comments, because there is just so much information on these allegations and the 2005 court trial and the Leaving Neverland documentary. I hope I did a good job at sharing years and years of information, and I will see you guys in the next part. Bye guys!